Hey Vorthos Army, and welcome back to the Aether Hub. Today we got another Vorthos Bite. Quick rundowns and recaps on some of the greatest legends found in Magic the Gathering. Remember, you decide the targets of this series. You can vote on our community tab and help guide the direction of this channel. You can also vote on more extensive topics by joining the Vorthos Army over on Patreon. Check that link in the description below. Guys, we got ourselves a juicy one for today's Vorthos Bite. Probably one of the most OP Planeswalkers ever conceived. From a Vorthos perspective, of course. Let's take a look at Commander 18's latest Planeswalker, Aminatou, the Fateshifter. So at face value, Aminatou is an average, magical looking little girl. And that's basically correct. She's said to only be 8 years old. Still, that makes her the youngest known Planeswalker in the multiverse, but outside of that, we know almost nothing about her character, outside of her insane powers, which we'll get to in a minute. Yep, we don't know her parents, her home plane, how she ignited her spark so early, although there is a theory, and yeah, essentially nothing. But we do know her Planeswalker abilities, and I'm sure that's all you guys actually care about. And her powers, guys, are just like Omega level insane. To put it simple, Aminatou dabbles in reality manipulation, fate manipulation, future casting, and has complete knowledge of future events that will occur not only to herself, but others, anyone she interacts with. And this happens on such a scale that I'd argue makes her nearly omnipotent. She has the ability to shape the futures of herself and others without any real effort. For example, she could make it so someone dies tomorrow in some freak accident without even breaking a sweat or leaving any known trace that she was behind it. She's basically the Planeswalker equivalent to a Final Destination movie, except that she tweaks events to happen the way she wants, good or bad. And just so you guys know, the theory behind her spark igniting so early in her life, before the traditional, trauma event, is because she foresaw her spark igniting somewhere down her timeline and she just willed it into happening earlier. She was just like, yeah, it's gonna happen anyway, might as well just give it to myself now. Yeah, that's the level of power we're dealing with here. However, this magic isn't limitless, at least it doesn't seem to be. It does seem to be limited in at least her proximity to her target. It's described that her power manifests in the form of intangible moths that float out and bump into her targets, slightly nudging their fates and shifting reality. The impact of these magical moths is literally up to her, but it seems like she just enjoys bumping random people's fate ever so slightly with this tactic, leading me to believe that it's her main way her powers operate. So Wizards of the Coast sort of hamstrings this Planeswalker by just making her 8 years old. Obviously, this is one of the most powerful Planeswalkers around, but because she's 8, she doesn't think that way, is more in the moment, thinking about possibilities rather than acting on her insane power. Let's just say I'm very happy Aminatou is in a supplemental set rather than a story main block set. This makes it less likely that she'll continue in any real capacity in the story, so we won't ever have to ask that annoying question. Why doesn't Aminatou just fate the threat away? I'm sure people will still bring that up since Pandora's box has already been open, but in reality, it's just not gonna be a thing. Hopefully. I will say, from a power level standpoint, her abilities are what I would consider on par with pre-mending Planeswalker's power, that of course being the power of gods. Though she can't create a world outright, she can twist fate in such a way that would ensure a new world would come into being. Maybe this is the first in a new cast of OP Planeswalkers free of the restrictions of the mending. I think of her kind of like the Scarlet Witch of Magic the Gathering. If you guys don't know, the Scarlet Witch is a mutant from the Marvel comics, and in the comics she actually has the power to warp reality and just make things happen. Not so much like the red laser shooting one you see in the movies. So I kind of think these two characters have a lot of parallels to them. And just like the Scarlet Witch in Marvel Comics, on her own, willed 98 or some odd % of mutants out of existence in the comic book world, maybe Aminatou will play a similar role in that she ushers back in the power of pre-mending Planeswalkers into reality. Just a little crazy tin hat theory here, but one that I would surely enjoy seeing. Anyway guys, Aminatou is a super OP Planeswalker currently stuck in a little girl's body and mindset. But don't forget, she won't stay little forever. So best to stay on her good side, unless you're looking to get into a freak accident. Remember to follow us here on YouTube and on Twitter. Hit that like button and share the video across the multiverse. You can help vote on topics here on our community page, and of course as a member of the Vorthos army over on Patreon. As always guys, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time here on the Aether Hub.